Books for Schnooks. 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 Books for Schnooks.
Dragon's Halloween. There are 2 title pages. Here's one. And on the other, Dragon's Halloween, written and illustrated by Dav Pilkey. And next to that, there's a page that says Read More Dragon Books. And it shows the front covers of other books in the Dragon series. And if you keep watching, you might just see me read some of those soon. Hint, hint. On the verso page, I can tell you that this story was first printed in the year 1993. And Dav Pilkey dedicated this story for Herb Sandberg. Next to that, there's a contents page. And since this is a chapter book, this isn't like other picture books that I've shown you. The contents page says that there are 3 chapters. It tells you the chapter, number, the title of the chapter, and the page that you'll find it on. And we're starting with chapter 1, 6 Small Pumpkins. It was October, and all the world was orange and brown. Dragon walked through the autumn leaves in search of a giant pumpkin.
I will find a pumpkin as big as a house, said Dragon. Oh, what a scary jack-o'-lantern it will make.
But when Dragon got to the pumpkin patch, all of the big pumpkins were already gone. Only 6 small pumpkins were left, and they were much too small to be scary. Dragon loaded the 6 small pumpkins into his cart and brought them home anyway. Later, as Dragon sat carving his small pumpkins, a fox and a crocodile came by. "What are you doing?" asked the fox.
I'm making scary jack-o'-lanterns,
said Dragon. "Those pumpkins are too small to be scary," said the fox.
Just wait,
said Dragon. Dragon took one of the pumpkins and poked branches into its sides. "That pumpkin looks stupid," said the crocodile. "No one will be afraid of your silly jack-o'-lanterns."
Just wait,
said Dragon. Dragon put candles into the pumpkins, and they all lit up bright and orange. Laughed the fox and the crocodile. "We've never seen such funny jack-o'-lanterns in all our lives."
just wait,
said Dragon. Finally, Dragon stacked the pumpkins on top of one another until they were very tall. The fox and the crocodile stopped laughing. Their eyes became wide. They began to tremble and shake. "Ah! Ah!" cried the crocodile. "Oh! Oh!" wailed the fox. The fox and crocodile ran off through the woods, screaming in terror. "Ah!"
What's the matter with them?
said Dragon. Dragon scratched his big head and looked up at the jack-o'-lanterns. "Ah! Ee! Ah!" screamed Dragon. Dragon ran into his house and hid under the bed.
I did not know that 6 small pumpkins could be so scary,
said Dragon. Chapter 2, Costume Party. There's an invitation addressed to Dragon. It says, Halloween Costume Party to Dragon. You are invited to a Halloween costume party. When? Halloween night. Time, 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Where? Pig's house. It was Halloween night, and Dragon was very excited. He had been invited to a Halloween costume party. Dragon tried to think of a scary costume to wear. Dragon could not decide whether to be a witch, a vampire, or a mummy. He thought and scratched his big head.
"One costume would be very scary," said Dragon. "But 3 costumes would be very, very, very scary."
So Dragon decided to wear all 3 costumes at the same time. First, Dragon put on a witch's hat and nose.
"I feel scary already," said Dragon.
Next, Dragon put on a vampire's cape and teeth. Dragon could not talk very well with the vampire teeth in his mouth. Said Dragon. Finally, Dragon wrapped himself up, just like a mummy, in toilet paper. Dragon hoped his costume would not be too scary. Dragon walked through the woods to the big costume party. Suddenly, the wind began to blow. Flash went the lightning. Boom went the thunder. And down came the rain. When Dragon finally got to the party, he was soaking wet, and his costume was ruined. All the animals began to laugh. "Look at Dragon," they cried. "Oh, what a silly costume." The animals laughed and laughed, and Dragon felt terrible. He walked over to a bench in the corner and sat down next to a big pumpkin. Suddenly, the bench broke and the pumpkin flipped high into the air. Splat! Dragon was very dizzy. He stumbled around the room, covered with slimy orange pumpkin goop. When the animals saw Dragon, they screamed in terror. "Eek, it's a monster!" cried the duck, who jumped into the pig's arms. Oh dear, cried the pig, who jumped into the hippo's arms. "Help, help, help!" cried the hippo, who jumped into the hamster's arms. Finally, Dragon pulled the pumpkin off his head.
"I'm not a monster," said Dragon. "I'm only Dragon."
The animals were very relieved, and soon everyone felt much better. Well, almost everyone. Hamsters flattened and stuck on Hippo's butt. Chapter 3, The Deep Dark Woods. The moon was full, the sky was dark, and the stomach was empty. Dragon was very hungry. He walked home through the spooky forest, thinking of good things to eat. Softly, the wind began to blow. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That was a scary sound. The wet leaves beneath Dragon's feet went squish, 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 squish. That was a scarier sound. When Dragon got farther into the forest, he heard the scariest sound of all. Grrr, grrr, growl. For a moment, everything was silent. Then suddenly, grrr, grrr, growl.
"What could that awful noise be?"
cried Dragon. Grrr, grrr, growl. The growling got louder and louder. Grrr, grrr, growl. Finally, Dragon jumped in the air.
"Help me!" he screamed. "It's a monster!"
High up in the treetops, a light flicked on. "What's going on down there?" shouted a sleepy-eyed squirrel.
I hear a monster growling!"
cried Dragon. "That's no monster," yelled the squirrel. "That's your stomach." "Now go home and get something to eat before you wake up the whole forest," cried the angry squirrel. Dragon held his stomach. It rumbled and growled. He felt very silly. All at once, the forest was dark again, but now Dragon was too hungry to be afraid. He ran and ran all the way home. When Dragon got home, he cooked up a giant Halloween feast. He made pumpkin pies, pumpkin soup, pumpkin bread, pumpkin pizzas, and pumpkin ice cream sundaes. Then Dragon ate and ate and ate until he was as round as a pumpkin. Now, it has some bonus features here, and at the end it says about the author. Dav Pilkey drew a picture of himself, and it says Dav Pilkey is the creator of the best-selling Dogman and Captain Underpants series. He has written and illustrated many other books for young readers, including the Dumb Bunny series, the Halloweener, Dog Breath, and the Paperboy, which is a Caldecott Honor book. Dav lives in the Pacific Northwest with his wife. And after that, it shows how you can draw a dragon. Now, I'm not gonna try this here because I'm not equipped to do this, but I'll leave these pages up in case you want to pause them and give it a try on your own, or go to the library and check out this book and try it on your own. And finally, it says, what's your story? Dragon makes a scary costume for the party. Imagine you are going to a costume party. What costume would you wear? How would you make it? Write and draw your story. And underneath that, bonus, try making your story just like Dav with watercolors. Did you know that Dav taught himself how to watercolor when he was making the dragon books? He went to the supermarket, bought a children's watercolor set, and used it to paint the entire book series. And on the back cover, it says, Dragon is excited for Halloween. He carves jack-o'-lanterns. He makes a creepy costume, but then he hears a monster growling. Sometimes Halloween can be scary. And beneath that, it says, read more dragon books, and shows some of the covers of other books in the Dragon series. And if you keep watching, you might just see me reading some of them soon. Hint, hint. But until then, that is the end of that.
Wow.